Hey oncers, it's Minx again, and I just wanted to start this video off by saying I am so sorry I'm getting this out late. Between being sick and at my brother's filming other videos and doing some Let's Plays and just all around craziness, I got a little bit behind, but I am all caught up on the show, and so here is my review of episode 6 of Once Upon a Time. Um, I have mixed feelings about this episode. Partially because of my own bias, I guess you could say. Um, they, my absolute favorite Pixar movie in the entire world is Brave. I love it. I love anything Celtic and Scottish. I am Irish and Scottish, and it kills me because I feel like they've completely bastardized the entire Brave storyline in here. Now, when we had the Frozen connection last season, the first part of last season, it actually felt like something new was going on. They actually tied it back to the original story, which was the Ice Queen. And they made it different. They gave it a twist. It didn't feel like Frozen. It didn't feel like the same movie. And I apologize if you can hear my cat right now because he's being a loud asshole. Anyway, it didn't feel like the same movie. It completely felt different. It was, it felt like it was after the events in the actual movie Frozen. You got to see bits and pieces of what the original story involved, and it just felt new and fresh. With this Brave storyline, I feel like they are literally taking the main, like, catchphrases and stuff and just jamming it down our throats, which is killing me. I mean, they've literally said brave like a bazillion times. She's now constantly talking about changing my fate. Like, seriously? It's starting to sound like what Dave was talking about in our podcast on Disney about how they marketed Brave down in Australia, where all they ever heard was, if you could change your fate. Like, seriously? What the hell? It's driving me insane. They are forcing so much with this storyline, and it sucks because it had such potential to be amazing. And don't get me wrong, I am not knocking the actress playing Merida at all. She's doing just fine with what she's been given to work with. I just feel like the quality on that particular part of the story is well below what it should be. I mean, shoot, combining Brave with Arthurian legend with Camelot, I feel like there's a huge missed opportunity there for some crazy awesome twists. Especially now, because the way that the episode went, I feel like we've probably hit the climax and the ultimate end for Merida's main storyline, and I feel like if she's in the rest of the season at all, it's going to be more of a almost side character until she gets to go back and be reunited with her mom and her brothers. Which sucks, because like I said, Brave was my favorite out of all the Pixar movies. I feel like it was one of the better movies that Disney's put out. Strong female lead character who don't need no man, to be awesome. And let me remind you, that came before Frozen. Hello. Anyway, so I feel like the scenes with that were the weakest. One of the things that bummed me out the most with the Merida situation was you finally got to see the brothers, and I was super excited that we were finally going to get a peek of the brothers because the triplets were my favorite part about Brave because they were the comic relief. They were freaking hilarious. You've got like three little toddlers running around, wreaking havoc on the castle. Not to mention adorableness when they get turned into baby bears. Like, oh my god, amazing. And in this case, they're like teenagers or even young adults, and I am completely confused because you can tell they're not triplets because they're different heights. Like, seriously, if you actually look closely enough, they don't look anything alike other than their hair. And it's fucking ridiculous. Like, seriously, what they should have done, I think those scenes, the climax there would have been way more poignant had they been younger. Maybe not toddler age, obviously, because that would be traumatizing to see on TV. Three toddlers strapped to, pretty much where a firing squad's gonna be. But they could have at least made them younger, like Henry's age in the first season. That would have been completely acceptable. At least make them tweens, like before they hit puberty. That would have been fine. That would have given us that proper age gap that was between Merida in the movie and and her brothers. So that really bummed me out. That actually really, really dropped the score in this. The Enchanted Forest part of the story pretty much centered on her and Belle essentially having their own little buddy quest, even though Belle was somewhat reluctant at first. We got to see the witch's hut and begin the whole change your fate part of the storyline, which it was pretty much more forced even than the rose, the enchanted rose. Um, we also saw Merida get turned into a freaking bear. I will say this: the CGI was not too bad on that part. Um, it actually looked fairly clean and compelling. Not as cheesy as Camelot by far. Um, so that was kind of cool. Uh, I think one of the best parts was actually the very end, when Rumpel actually pulls the sword from the stone, throws it at Emma's feet, and straight up tells her, "The worst mistake you ever made was turning me into a hero." And then, she snaps back with, "Oh, there's plenty of heroes, there's tons of heroes in this town, and none of them can take me on." And he straight up leans in and whispers, "Yeah, but none of them are me." And then walks out with Belle and Merida like a pimp. Um, Rumpel is finally coming back. He's finally becoming, a good version of the character we all know and love. I love the fact that him and Belle are kind of reconnecting and coming back together because they are in my top 3 OTPs in this show. Um, they used to be my actual favorite, and then Emma and Hook kind of took that over. But come on, it's Emma and Hook. How can you not love that? Um, but I'm glad they're finally getting back to that, and I like the way they're doing it, and I like the fact that no matter how much she might hate it, Belle still sees the best in Rumpel, and still very much loves him, and you can actually see it, especially in this one. And I love the fact that she continuously stands up to him and is like, "No, we're not doing this. We're not running away. You can run away if you want to. I'm gonna face everything." Because Belle is freaking hella cool and she does not back down, and I love that about how they're portraying that. It's one of my examples of Once Upon a Time presenting us with strong female characters that, little girls can look up to. It's awesome. With that said, the other bits, which we didn't get a whole lot about, was pretty much the main group, of Regina, David, and Mary Margaret discussing, how are we going to get a hold of Merlin? We got the Crimson Cap, and they were like, "Oh, it's got to be by, one of Merlin's chosen," which is, in the absence of, the apprentice, it's going to be Arthur. Well, guess what, kids? They finally discover that Arthur's an asshat, and that he is a liar, because he somehow gets them to believe that he has to be alone when this happens, and while they're gone, takes the Crimson Cap and chucks it in the fire instead of chucking it into the cauldron where it was supposed to go. They end up finding it later, so they now know that he is a lying sucker. They know that he's lying, which is good, because I was wondering how long in the season they were going to keep believing that BS. They finally think about it. Regina being the smart chica that she is, figures out that they still have one more person who could possibly talk to Merlin, and that is Henry, aka the author, aka chosen by Merlin to be said author. So they get Henry, and Henry makes a really awesome statement that the person who yanked out his girly girl's heart was not his mom, but he knows that she's still in there somewhere. So he's going to do whatever it takes to get her back, which is another example of true love, which, I always loved about the show, is that they actually show that there's more than just the, oh, kind of love. So he drops it in a Merlin hologram, for better lack of a word, or lack of a better word. God, I keep talking backwards. Pops up and it's like, if you're seeing this, things are worse than I thought. And this leads us to our line of the episode, which is, of course, going to Regina, queen of the greatest one-liners ever. And she goes, oh, great, you're telling me we got Merlin's voicemail? Frickin' epic. Had me giggling all over the place. And then you kind of hear some background stuff, and he pretty much tells them that they have to find Nimue. For those who don't know, Nimue is from Arthurian legend, and she is one of the many iterations of Lady of the Lake, which we were all waiting to come out. If you've actually seen the 1998 Merlin, she was also a potential love interest for Merlin, and I have a theory, so hang on to your pants. We'll see if you actually agree with this. In the last episode, I think it was the last episode, we actually see Merlin about to take down the Dark One. And, he's very pissed off and pretty much like, you took her away from me, da-da-da. And it's when the Dark One collects his tear and locks him in the tree. My theory is that is Nimue, and that they were together, and she ended up falling to the darkness, and that I think he realizes that when she's got the dagger to his throat, because that seemed like a very feminine form, as opposed to Rumpelle. So that's what I think there. I think that was his love interest, and I think it was actually Nimue, and I think she was actually the Dark One for a little while. Who knows what happened after that. So yeah, that's my theory. Also, my theory from the very first episode was that the Usher was Merlin. Obviously, that has proven true. So we'll see if I'm actually batting and also, actually, that Arthur was a lying asshat. I think I also called that too within the first 2 episodes, because I said he was shady as hell. So we'll see if I'm actually batting 1,000 with this theory. So hopefully we'll check that out. As always, catch you next week for my next review. Oh yeah, wait, I didn't even give it a grade. What's wrong with me? Oh my god. Sad to say, I'm going to have to give this a C+ to a B-. I feel like the force-feeding of Brave stuff kind of killed the episode for me a lot, especially because it was my favorite movie. I feel like they completely bastardized the entire thing. Strong points was definitely Rumpelle and Belle slowly reconnecting, and Rumpelle entering the hero role, which was awesome. His threat to Emma was cool. Regina having the greatest line ever in the episode. And, finally another reveal. We're tying another thing from the Arthurian legend into the show, which hopefully proves awesome. Yeah, so C+, B- at best. Not the greatest of episodes, although it did have some high points. I think the low points kind of drug it down a little too much. But we'll see what happens next Sunday. So remember to tune in to ABC and get that checked out. And I'll see you next week. Later, oncers.